Esther is no longer here. Dina Tarini is no longer here. All right. What about Gokulananda Prabhu? Is he here? Ishwari Kumari is here. And several little guys. Hare Krishna. Today is Wednesday, October the 4th, I believe. Yes. And for those of you who are listening in from outside Dallas, it looks as though Dallas is getting a reprieve. We're going to have lower temperatures for the next several days. Below 100 degrees, that's pretty nice. And some days below 90 degrees. That's your weather report for today. I'll give you the update on the traffic soon. For those of you who don't know me, who are listening in perhaps, my name is Rupanuga. I'm a disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Today we're going to be reading from the 3rd canto, chapter 15, and we'll be covering texts 11 through 25, if memory serves me well, and it quite often does not, but I think that's the case. First of all, we'll invoke the blessings of the Supreme Lord. So our invocation. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Nitai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bo. Let's see, we don't have Premadwani prayers now, right?
No, you should just open the roll by it.
Yeah, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nasta Prayesva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Gantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So we have a microphone in hand. Okay, Jose, would you please begin by reading text number 11? Please, the translation only.
Is just pulling it up.
Okay.
There we go.
Sri Maitreya said, thus Lord Brahma...
It's not on. Is it on? Turn up the volume. I won't continue unless we can have that microphone working. Too many times I've sat at home and listened, waiting in anticipation to hear the voice that was making a comment.
Sri Maitreya said, thus Lord Brahma, who is understood by transcendental vibration, tried to satisfy the demigods, being pleased with the words of prayer.
Okay, text number 12, please, Dristadumna.
Lord Brahma said, my four sons, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar, who were born from my mind, are your predecessors. Sometimes they travel throughout the material and spiritual skies without any definite desire.
Now, this is kind of an important point that we're going to be talking about a little bit during the discourse today. Sometimes they travel throughout the material and spiritual skies without any definite desire. Okay, Anna, please, would you read text number 13?
After thus traveling all over the universes, they also entered into the spiritual sky, for they were freed from all material contamination. In the spiritual sky, there are spiritual planets known as Vaikunthas, which are the residents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His pure devotees, and are worshipped by the residents of all the material planets.
Okay, so they're traveling at will, freed from all material contamination, which leads me to believe that they had no gross material bodies. They only had their subtle bodies, and the question, well, we'll ask some other questions later. Gokulanand Prabhu, text number 14, please.
Text 14. In the Vaikuntha planets, all the residents are similar in form to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all engage in devotional service to the Lord without desires for sense gratification.
Okay, Mother Prabhupada Priya Prabhu, please.
In the Vaikuntha planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original person and who can be understood through the Vedic literature. He is full of the uncontaminated mode of goodness, with no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for the devotees.
Would you bring the microphone? Well, actually, you can use this one.
Oh, okay. Yes. 16. In those Vaikuntha planets, there are many forests which are very auspicious. In those forests, the trees are desire trees, and in all seasons they are filled with flowers and fruits, because everything in the Vaikuntha planets is spiritual and personal.
Text number 17, please, Jose Prabhu.
In the Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their airplanes, accompanied by their wives and consorts, and eternally think of the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of all inauspicious qualities. While thinking the glories of the Lord, they deride even the presence of the blossoming Madhavi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with honey.
Okay, so in the spiritual world, then, we're understanding from this text that the residents are not attracted by the sensory pleasure of the blooming flowers, which are very, very fragrant. Okay, and they're also said not to be attracted to their consorts. Number 18, please. Prabhupada Priya Devi.
When the king of bees hums in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there is a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon, the cuckoo, the crane, the chakravaka, the swan, the parrot, the partridge, and the peacock. Such transcendental birds stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of the Lord.
So the humming of the bees then are not just an ordinary sound such as we would perceive with our own ears in these bodies, but rather they are transmitting the glories of the Lord, but the bees in the Vaikuntha world. Okay? Jose, please, number 19.
Although flowering plants like the mandara, kunda, kurabaka, utpala, kampaka, arna, punarga, nagakeshara, bakula, lily, and parijata are full of transcendental fragrance, they are still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulasi. For Tulasi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with Tulasi leaves.
Okay, and we want to talk a little bit about why all this detailed information about the types of flowers and trees and creatures who are in the Vaikuntha planets. Why are those being brought up in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Okay, would you, Briyat Madanga Prabhu, please, text number 20.
The inhabitants of Vaikuntha travel in their airplanes made of lapis lazuli, emerald, and gold. Although crowded by their consorts, who have large hips and beautiful smiling faces, they cannot be stimulated to passion by their mirth and beautiful charms.
No distractions from the glories of the holy name in the Vaikuntha planets as there are in this planet. We have many distractions, but those are not present in the denizens of the Vaikuntha planets. Okay, do you feel like reading or no? Okay, all right, Jose, please, text number 21.
The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendentally beautiful ladies, their hands playing with the lotuses and their legs bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders, in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So they're sweeping the marble walls in the Vaikunthas, and you wonder, is there dust there? If it is, it's transcendental dust. Even the dust has personality in the Vaikunthas. Gokulananda Prabhu, text number 22, please.
Text 22. The goddess of fortune worship the Lord. The goddesses of fortune worship the Lord in their own gardens by offering tulsi leaves on the coral-paved banks of transcendental reservoirs of water. While offering worship to the Lord, they can see on the water the reflection of their beautiful faces with raised noses, and it appears that they have become more beautiful because of the Lord's kissing their faces.
Goddesses of fortune. Okay. Prabhupada Priya Devi, text number 23.
It is very much regrettable that unfortunate people do not discuss the description of the Vaikuntha planets, but engage in topics which are unworthy to hear and which bewilder one's intelligence. Those who give up the topics of Vaikuntha and take to talk of the material world are thrown into the darkest region of ignorance.
Those who give up the topics of Vaikuntha and take to the talk of the material world are thrown into the darkest regions of ignorance, which kind of means Dallas, Texas, perhaps? Text number 24, please. Briyat Madanga.
Lord Brahma said, "My dear demigods, the human form of life is of such importance that we also desire to have such life. For in the human form one can attain perfect religious truth and knowledge. If one in this human form of life does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his abode, it is to be understood that he is very much affected by the influence of external nature."
Okay. And text number 25, I'm going to ask Mother Prabhupada Priya, please, to read the. I think first of all, we're going to talk about text number 25. So let's begin by reading the translations, or I should say the transliterations of the Sanskrit. So repeat after me, if you will, please, each word. Yat, Vaikuntha, Cha, and Vrajanti, go, Animisam, of the demigods, Rishabha, chief, Anuvritya, following in the footsteps, Dure, keeping at a distance, Yama, regulative principles, He, certainly, Upari, above, Na, us, Sprihanya, to be desired, Shila, good qualities, Bhartu, of the Supreme Lord, Mita, for one another, Sanyasasa, it is Suyasyasa, glories, Katana, by discussions and discourses, Anuraga, attraction, Vaiklavya, ecstasy, Baspakalaya, tears in the eyes, Pulaki Krita, shivering, Anga, bodies. Let's give a try at reading this in the poetic form now. Yaksha, hold on just a moment. Yacha vrajantyanami mishyam rishabhanuvritya dureyamahyuparina sprihaniya sita. That last word was not sita, it was shila. Bhartur mita suyasasa katanagnuraga. Vaiklavya baspa kalaya pulaki kritanga.
Yachcha vrajantya nimisham rishabhanuvritya Dure yamahyuparina sprihaniya shila Bhartur mitasu yashasa katananuraga Vaiklavya bashpa kalaya pulaki kritanga.
Anyone else want to chant? It's not an easy piece. You did that very nicely. Thank you. All right, so translation. Would you read the translations, please, Mother Prabhupada Priya?
Persons whose bodily features change in ecstasy and who breathe heavily and perspire due to hearing the glories of the Lord are promoted to the kingdom of God, even though they do not care for meditation and other austerities. The kingdom of God is above the material universes, and it is desired by Brahma and other demigods.
This is quite a long purport that follows, and I'm going to ask you if you will please read that first paragraph. Can you see it well enough from there?
Yeah. Purport. It is clearly stated herein that the kingdom of God is above the material universes. Just as there are many hundreds and thousands of higher planets above this earth, so there are many millions and billions of spiritual planets belonging to the spiritual sky. Brahmaji states herein that the spiritual kingdom is above the kingdom of the demigods. One can enter the kingdom of the Supreme Lord only when one is highly developed in desirable qualities. All good qualities develop in the person of a devotee. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse 12, that anyone who is Krishna conscious is endowed with all the good qualities of the demigods. In the material world, the qualities of the demigods are highly appreciated, just as even in our experience, the qualities of a gentleman are more highly appreciated than the qualities of a man in ignorance or in a lower condition of life. The qualities of the demigods and the higher planets are far superior to the qualities of the inhabitants of this earth.
Okay, second paragraph, please.
Okay. Brahmaji confirms herewith that only persons who have developed the desirable qualities can enter into the kingdom of God. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the devotees' desirable qualities are described to be 26 in number. They are stated as follows. He is very kind. He does not quarrel with anyone. He accepts Krishna consciousness as the highest goal of life. He is equal to everyone. No one can find fault in his character. He is magnanimous, mild, and always clean internally and externally. He does not profess to possess anything in this material world. He is a benefactor to all living entities. He is peaceful and is a soul completely surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desire to fulfill. He is meek and humble, always steady, and has conquered the sensual activities. He does not eat more than required to maintain body and soul together. He is never mad after material identity. He is respectful to all others and does not demand respect for himself. He is very grave, very compassionate, and very friendly. He is poetic, he is expert in all activities, and he is silent in nonsense. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, verse 21, the qualifications of a saintly person are mentioned. It is said there that a saintly person eligible to enter into the kingdom of God is very tolerant and very kind to all living entities. He is not partial. He is kind both to human beings and to animals. He is not such a fool that he will kill a goat Narayan to feed a human Narayan, or Daridra Narayan. He is very kind to all living entities. Therefore, he has no enemy. He is very peaceful. These are the qualities of persons who are eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. That such a person gradually becomes liberated and enters the kingdom of God is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse 2. The Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, verse 24, also states that if a person does not cry or exhibit bodily changes after chanting the holy name of God without offense, it is to be understood that he is hard-hearted, and that therefore his heart does not change even after he chants the holy name of God, Hare Krishna. These bodily changes can take place due to ecstasy when we offenselessly chant the holy names of God, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
It may be noted that there are 10 offenses we should avoid. The first offense is to decry persons who try in their lives to broadcast the glories of the Lord. People must be educated in understanding the glories of the Supreme. Therefore, the devotees who engage in preaching the glories of the Lord are never to be decried. It is the greatest offense. Furthermore, the holy
What is
names-
that? What is that word decried? From the context, what would you say is an approximate meaning of that word? Gokulananda Prabhu.
They're never to be criticized or blasphemed.
Okay, criticized, blasphemed. Okay. All right, read on, please.
It is the greatest offense. Furthermore, the holy name of Vishnu is the most auspicious name, and its pastimes are also non-different from the holy name of the Lord. There are many foolish persons who say that one can chant Hare Krishna or chant the name of Kali or Durga or Shiva because they are all the same. If one thinks that the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the names and activities of the demigods are on the same level, or if one accepts the holy name of Vishnu to be a material sound vibration, that is also an offense. The third offense is to think of the spiritual master who spreads the glories of the Lord as an ordinary human being. The fourth offense is to consider the Vedic literatures such as the Puranas or other transcendently revealed scriptures to be ordinary books of knowledge. The fifth offense is to think that devotees have given artificial importance to the holy name of God. The actual fact is that the Lord is non-different from His name. The highest realization of spiritual value is to chant the holy name of God as prescribed for the age. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The sixth offense is to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. The seventh offense is to act sinfully on the strength of chanting the holy name of God. It is understood that one can be freed from all sinful reaction simply by chanting the holy name of God. But if one thinks that he is therefore at liberty to commit all kinds of sinful acts, that is a symptom of an offense. The eighth offense is to equate the chanting of Hare Krishna with other spiritual activities, such as meditation, austerity, penance, or sacrifice. They cannot be equated at any level. The ninth offense is to specifically glorify the importance of the holy name before persons who have no interest. The 10th offense is to be attached to the misconception of possessing something, or to accept the body as oneself, while executing the process of spiritual cultivation.
Rupanuga Prabhu, would you please read us the dictionary definition of the word decried?
To publicly denounce. I have the etymology as well. So it comes from the 17th century. It was to decrease the value of coins by royal proclamation. So what I take from that is it's like publicly lowering the value of a Vaishnava is to decry a Vaishnava.
Good, thank you very much. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada follows in the footsteps of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, using terms that are not so often used in our ordinary daily speaking. And even though we can tell by the context approximately what is intended, it's sometimes nice to look up the definition of the word and get the etymology also. Etymology or entomology? Entomology is what? Study of what? Insects. Yeah. So whenever I'm glorifying myself, you know that I'm practicing entomology. Prabhupada Priya Devi, would you read the last paragraph in this very long purport?
When one is free from all 10 of these offenses in chanting the holy name of God, he develops the ecstatic bodily features called Pula Kashru. Pulaka means symptoms of happiness, and Ashru means tears in the eyes. The symptoms of happiness and tears in the eyes must appear in a person who has chanted the holy name offenselessly. Here in this verse it is stated that those who have actually developed the symptoms of happiness and tears in the eyes by chanting the glories of the Lord are eligible to enter the kingdom of God. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that if one does not develop these symptoms while chanting Hare Krishna, it is to be understood that he is still offensive. Chaitanya Charitamrita suggests a nice remedy in this connection. There it is said in verse 31, chapter 8 of Adi Lila, that if anyone takes shelter of Lord Chaitanya and just chants the holy name of the Lord Hare Krishna, he becomes free from all offenses.
That was a very long purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. And thank you all for taking a turn in reading that. Any questions? A couple of things that I did want to mention as I was considering this verse, these verses in the text. So I'll ask these questions to you all. One is we've talked about, I hinted at earlier when I said something about how the Kumaras were able to enter the heaven, the Vaikunthas. So what kind of body must they possess? And I'm going to ask that question of Briyatmadanga Prabhu.
You need a spiritual body to go to the spiritual world.
Okay, and we know that they're the sons of Lord Brahma, and so they're probably some of the oldest personalities within this universe, and yet they appear at seventh gate, I believe it was, of Vaikuntha, asking to go in and see Lord Narayan, and they were stopped by Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers. So if a person, let's see, I think in this book, in this text rather, it was stated that, talking about the good qualities of a very pure person, he does not demand respect for himself. He is very tolerant and very kind, all living into. So we kind of get maybe a feeling that both the Kumaras and the gatekeepers were feeling a little bit, the hair was rising on the backs of their necks when the gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, would not allow the Kumaras' entry into Vaikuntha. And so they have a spiritual body, but we all have spiritual bodies, don't we? That we have some or other become covered over by Krishna's very powerful material energy. And so our spiritual forms are not visible to these material eyes that we have. And so it appears that that the Kumaras were able to leave behind their subtle bodies, which I am presuming they have as demigods, the sons of Brahma. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have gross material bodies such as we have, bodies that are made of the dirt and which return to the elements of the earth once we have departed from these bodies. So you take a human body or any kind of an animal body for that matter, and if the individual who inhabits that body has left, you can take that body and toss it out into the woods and come back a year later, and you might see some bones and a skull, or something, probably maybe some hair if it's an animal, a furry animal. And if you come back 10 years from then, it probably would be a little difficult to find even a trace of those bodies. So we cannot leave this atmosphere of this planet in our material bodies without the help of some mechanical contrivance, something that will provide us pressure, which is air pressure is what we're feeling right now, the pressure of the air weighting down on us. And if we were to leave this planet, we would have to have some special suit to wear, not only to protect us from the pressure, but also protect us from some radiation that is known to be present, cosmic radiation, which is also similar to X-rays in its frequency. Cosmic radiation is outside this planet, although this planet is continuously bombarded with X-rays or cosmic radiation. So, in other words, every planet has its own atmosphere and its own facility for the living entities who have taken their births there and have become covered over by a particular type of body. And all of this was due to the expertise and the meditation of Lord Brahma initially. When he was given the living entities, as I understand it, I think I've read that he had all the living entities were given and put inside the body of Lord Brahma. And so then he had to contrive a special type of body for the reactions, the desires of in other words, the karma of those living entities who have come back into this world to make another go of it. And so what kind of body do the Kumaras have? Well, certainly they have a subtle body as demigods, but then they also have their spiritual body, which is what we have also. And incidentally, we also have a subtle body. Maybe if you grew up in the 70s, and I think not too many people here grew up in the 70s, but there was a lot said about mysticism and astral travel. You heard that term? So we have an astral body, as they called it back then. And that means that you can, if somehow or other you can learn how to do it, then you can travel all over the universe in your astral body. And so some people who were attracted to mysticism, as I was in the early 70s, we had no idea what all of this meant. But we got the idea that there was some kind of reality beyond the very boring society in which we found ourselves. And boredom was one of the most difficult situations that I had to deal with as a young fellow coming up. Even after getting out of college and getting married the first time, getting out of college the first time and getting married. I'm still married to that same person, by the way. There was the problem of going to the same office every day, being with the same people, listening to the same conversations, and then trying to remain interested in one's occupation that he used to pay the bills. So that was difficult. So the Kumaras don't seem to have that kind of problem. Who is another personality within our universe who can also travel not only in the higher planets of this universe, but travel outside? Who is that? Narada Muni, spaceman, space traveler, Skywalker. So this is pretty. So we wonder, how is it that the Kumaras, being so purified that they could actually travel into the Vaikuntha planets, would become a little irritated because they were not permitted entry into the gates, through the gates, to see their Lord Narayan. And what do we think? What might have caused those persons who were purified of all kinds of material contamination? What caused them maybe to get a little angry? And then what caused the gatekeepers to deny them entrance? Because in the Vaikuntha planets we're supposed to be full of knowledge. So why was it that the gatekeepers did not recognize these poor little boys who came up looking like, what, 3-year-olds maybe, completely naked, but they were the oldest person, some of the oldest persons within our universe. So we have to understand then that just as we're covered by the Lord's material energy when we come into this world, so the Lord can also arrange for anyone at any time to be covered by his spiritual energy. Even the Lord himself allows himself to be covered by his the forgetfulness of that is provided by his spiritual energy. That's interesting, isn't it? How can the one who controls everything be overwhelmed by one of his own potencies? Because he desires to be overwhelmed. We can't say that God cannot do that, because God is fully powerful. What is the term for one who has all power? Omnipotent, or some would have it, omnipotent. Omniscient. He also is omniscient, which means what? All-knowing. All-knowing. And he's also Anand. He has total Anand, which means what? Anand or Ananda. What does that mean? Blissful. Full of bliss. So how could the Lord do that? Well, we have to fall back on that one word, English word, inconceivable. It's just inconceivable. We just cannot imagine it. How can this form of the Lord on our altar here have all of the power that provides all of the ingredients for this material world, including not only this universe, but many other universes as well, and can be the source of all the living entities that inhabit all of these places? So we say inconceivable. Now, I'll ask a couple more questions, but we're out of time practically. I just want to mention a few of the questions that I considered to talk about today if we had gotten through the purports a little quicker, but that wasn't possible. Anyhow, Prabhupada's words are more important than mine. How could they have become angry with Jai and Vijay? How could Jai and Vijay become arrogant with the Kumaras? Yogamaya. Why does the Lord Narayan come to greet the Kumaras? What's your opinion on that? Anybody?
He wants to see them. They're his devotees and he wants to see them.
He wants to see them. And he knows there's been a row between Jai and Vijay and the 4 Kumaras. So he has come also to kind of smooth things out, mollify, you know that word, mollify? To mollify the situation, to take away some of the edge. Why do we need to know about the qualities of the Vaikunthas and its residents? Mother Prabhupada Priya, would you please take the microphone and give us a response to that question? Why do we need to know about the qualities of the Vaikunthas and its residents?
To understand that there's another world beyond this world where things are very different, and to be attracted, to want to know more about that world and to go there.
What keeps us in this material world, Mother Prabhupada Priya?
Our misconception that we think that we can enjoy separately from Krishna by exploiting the resources of this world.
So we find this world that we're in to be very attractive then, don't we? Mm-hmm. And especially with regard to persons who are very close to us, our relatives, our friends. And so at the time of our departure from this world, if we have not overcome that attraction with an attraction for a more desirable place with more desirable companionship, then Krishna will not force us to leave this place. We can stay. And he will let us stay as long as we desire to stay, as long as we desire not to have to bend the knee to him, or to accept him as the source of all that is. And Krishna is not at all egotistical, is he, in wanting us to give him all worship. Why is that not egotistical? Now, if I said that, you should please serve me, and you should adore me. That would be very much egotistical, wouldn't it? Because I do not have the means to provide the pleasure that you're seeking. If I did, then I would be Krishna. Because Krishna has the ability for those persons who come to him and offer him praise and worship, prayers, he has the means by which to satisfy our least desire or our greatest desire. He can do it. And therefore, it is not irregular at all, then, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to demand that if we want to get out of this world, we have to learn the attractiveness of the other world. You know, some people say, if God is so great, why can't he make a perfect world? And they say that about this world because they've had so many difficulties, and there's been wars and killings and everything, and the weather gets bad sometimes, and it's very hard to deal with this world. So they say, this is not a perfect world. If God is perfect, why can't he create a perfect world? Well, the fact is he did. He can, and he does. And it's called Vaikuntha. So if we want a perfect world to live in, then we have the option of ditching this world. We have to leave it behind, which means then, in order to do that, we have to become more attractive to the other world and its residents than we are to this world and its residents.
I would say this world is also perfect, perfectly designed for our suffering and to keep.
Say it again?
This world is perfectly designed to keep us in illusion and suffer.
Perfectly designed to accomplish the purpose. Yes, that's right, Mother Prabhupada Priya. This world is actually perfectly designed to serve the purpose of the Supreme Lord. Give us a place to go where we can try to find happiness, and we can work hard, and we can get just a little taste of nectar occasionally, but for the most part, suffering. And why the suffering? Is it strictly punitive? No. The primary purpose of suffering is to turn our heads around so we look at Krishna again. Only when we become attracted to Krishna more than we are attracted to this material world can we get out of this material world. Otherwise, if our desire is to stay, Krishna says, okay, do it again. Here's another body for you. We should stop now. One more question, please, or
I had
comment?
a thought, because sometimes you hear people say, kind of ignorant people say, that I don't want to go to heaven, I'd rather go to hell because all my friends are going to be there. But I was thinking, and people don't want to leave this earth, because they're friends and family, like you were saying, we're attached to our friends and family here. Of course, everyone has to leave, but the thing is, our real friends and family are in the spiritual world. It's not just that, that these descriptions are like reading a travel brochure for a place you've never been, and oh, that sounds really good, I want to go there. But you've never been there, you don't know anybody, you don't have anything to do there really except just see it. Whereas the spiritual world is like, that's actually our home. Like, that's where our family is, that's where our friends, that's where we have a service to do.
So why then would Srila Prabhupada leave the spiritual world to come here?
Just to get us back.
Compassion, real compassion. We don't have that kind of compassion as Prabhupada had. Maybe we have it to a certain extent. We're developing it, we hope, but we don't have the compassion that he had to leave the spiritual world and come down here just to bail us out. Anything more?
My point was that it's not an unknown place, it's just that we've forgotten it, but that's actually like where we fit in, that's like our place.
All right, thank you all very much for staying over with me a little bit. Thank you all who are outside listening in by internet. Hopefully the internet was working today. So we offer our respectful obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who, just like desire trees, who fulfill the desires of everyone and who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vachakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Shri Radhakala Chandidam ki jai, Gaura Premananda.
Rupanuga was asking if you could turn the volume on the mic.
Oh, this